You can feel the madness. And it's over. This is what dreams are made of.
Back to the Final Four to defend their title. The number 1 overall seed, Connecticut.
Step back three. Money! Mark Sears!
And the next stop on the Purdue Redemption Tour is the Final Four.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the D1 and Done pod, currently presented by Chip Carney and our friends at Sid's Bar and Grill. Make sure you give us a follow on our social media pages. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're also on YouTube, and we are wherever you may find your podcasts. I'm Robbie Donahoe, alongside Dusty Mills and Nick Mills. I'm trying to compose myself here to start. Guys?
Congratulations, Robbie.
Guys, we made it to the Final Four. Thank you. I cannot believe it. So we'll get into Purdue in much more in greater detail in a little bit. But I first off just got to start off with anyone who has texted or called or messaged on social media. Just first off, thank you. It means the world to me. I've heard from people I haven't talked to in months, sometimes years, who just reached out and said, "Hey, saw Purdue won, was thinking about you. Congratulations!" Like I had at least 4 or 5 of those, so it was very cool. But overall, I first off, we'll start with letting you know the Final Four for Phoenix will be NC State versus Purdue and Alabama versus UConn. It should be a fun Final Four from Phoenix, so we are all set. We got a double-digit seed that'll be playing for a national championship, 2 wins away from it. But I will start with Dusty first. Dusty, first off, you were the one who said it, I think, in episode 2, that Purdue will be at the Final Four. And sure enough, here they are. They are playing at the Final Four in Phoenix. What did you think watching that game today, while you were also golfing at the same time, I should mention?
I shot a great round. I shot 42.
There you go.
For me. So, yeah, the first half I did have on in the golf cart on my YouTube TV, so I was watching it as I was playing. Second half, we were tuned in. For those viewers who heard the I'm in Florida right now, fly back tomorrow. The entire family, and I was with a ton of IU people, all cheering for Purdue, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
When they're down 32-21 was the moment where I was actually golfing with my wife and then my cousin, who's married to a big Purdue fan, Nate Hahn. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, crap, Nate must be," there's a lot more explicitives than I'm saying, "Oh, crap, Nate must be mad."
Yeah.
And we looked at her, Daddy, I said, "They will be fine." There's no point in the game I thought that Tennessee had a chance. Tennessee basketball this year just let down Connect. That's the big. I mean, he tried his butt off to carry them. But Purdue, I mean, Edey is just showing what he is. And even after, and I know we'll get in the NC State Duke game, but as much as we love DJ Burns, like I don't see how he has a chance to do anything against Edey.
Yeah.
Or front line individually. So Purdue to me is just continuing to show how good they are. They're so talented. Braden Smith is playing so cautious, which I like. He's being a floor general, not worried about even getting shots up. It's more about who can I get open, how can I run the offense. So, again, no surprise. I think Purdue out of the Final Four is no. I do think Bama can beat UConn again. Stuff we'll get into, but Purdue, no surprise. So freaking happy for you. I tried calling Robbie as soon as the clock hit 0 because I hear the minute of ecstasy, but he was actually eating dinner with his parents, so probably bad timing for that.
The funniest part about all of this is, so first off, it was my dad's birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to my dad. So he turns, well, we're not going to mention how old he is because I don't want to do that to them. But for some reason, so my dad was cooking an early dinner during the game, and as he was finishing, I was like, "Dad, there's like 8 minutes left in the game. We're really going to sit down and eat dinner as the game's going on?" He's like, "Yep, we got dinner ready." I was like, "That's okay. We're going to do this." All right. So literally, we had a steak, potatoes, and asparagus, and I don't think I ate any of it for about 30 minutes watching the game because I was that stressed. Like, that's how my anxiety was through the roof. But they got the job done. Purdue wins. Nick, your thoughts? What'd you think about Purdue? We'll talk more about the matchup here momentarily, about the box score, but I just want to get your initial thoughts on the Boilermakers beating the Volunteers.
I just want to start a big picture for us, Robbie, in this podcast. It's kind of poetic, isn't it? This is our first. We just started podcast, early February?
Yeah.
And here we go into March. Our two teams, we basically show the two sides of the coin, the agony and the beauty of March, right?
The agony and ecstasy of college basketball. Don't you love it?
Literally, right? Kentucky has a disastrous tournament, all that stuff we've mentioned. And then here's Purdue. Again, the good side of March. Finally breaking through the first time since 1980. So it's just that dawned on me today, so I forgot how to say that. I wish the roles were reversed. No offense, Robbie.
None taken on that front. I don't blame you at all for that.
But yeah, like Gussie said, like Tennessee kind of punched in the mouth and don't connect specifically. And Purdue just, you told this Purdue team's different. You know, it's the same face as the last year, but like they're not scared of the moment.
No.
They're not. They get punched. They always respond. Zach Edey had 40 points. And I mean, don't connect and Edey were just. It was truly going back and forth with each other. So yeah, it's really. I think the main story is Purdue had a lot of chances to falter. You know, again, Gonzaga threw a haymaker at them in the Sweet 16. No, Wayne State showed up against them. Like here they are, Robbie. They're in the Final Four. And have we mentioned? I don't know if we want to say this in the pod that you'll be there.
I'm going. Yes.
Yeah!
My wife and I are going. We're very excited. It's going to be a great trip. We're pumped. I've already heard from multiple of my Purdue friends, from my fraternity brothers. There's going to be a large Purdue contingency making that trip to Phoenix, and I am so excited to see all the black and gold there. So before we jump deeper into the game, I want us to get a listen to our show sponsor, Jack Carney, checked in with us via our SpeakPipe. You can contact us, speakpipe.com/D1AndDonePod. And I want to give Jack Chip an opportunity to revel in the moment. He has been a long-suffering Purdue fan, and he deserves this moment as well. So I'm going to let you get 2 minutes of Jack Carney, our show sponsor, to enjoy this moment as Purdue is going to the Final Four.
Fellas, Jack Carney here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Wow, where do I start? What an incredible day. I should start by saying I just want to thank you guys for all the shout-outs and for letting SIDS be a sponsor on the show. I'm with Randy Witter. We're driving back from Detroit back to Indy after watching Purdue punch their ticket to the Final Four for the first time in 44 years. And let me tell you what, we are elated. We are on cloud nine. My plan was to actually call you guys from the stadium, when we were screaming and crying and celebrating, but I just, kind of got caught up in it. And so now we've kind of come down a little bit. Still definitely on a high. This is the most amazing day as a Purdue sports fan in my lifetime. And where to even start? So much to tell you guys. Just an incredible environment at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. It had to be at least 80% Purdue fans. There was some orange in there, but the Boiler Up chants, there was the Whose House, Our House chant at the end. It was electric. There's 18,000 people there, and it was maybe not as loud as Mackey, but it was an incredible environment. And just, I don't know what to say. Zach Edey, 40 points. God bless that boy. God bless that boy. And I want to just give a huge shout out to all the old heads out there. My grandfather, who's in his 80s, went to Purdue. Gene Cady, longtime legendary coach at Purdue, never made a Final Four. He's 87 years old, about to turn 88. We got to the Final Four during his lifetime. He got to see it. Shout out to Coach Matt Painter. Shout out to Zach Edey, all the guys who've taken so much crap for, being choke artists, losing to a 16, etc. I'm just so happy for those guys and for everyone. And I really don't have a question. Just wanted to call in and share some joy. Hope you guys have a great show, and we'll see you in Phoenix. Boiler up!
All right, many thanks to Jack for that message. As he mentioned, he didn't have a question. He just wanted to revel in the moment of Purdue making a Final Four. So first off, thank you, Jack, for sending that in. We really appreciate it. Glad you and Randy had a great time up in Detroit. But I want to get into the box score here and kind of talk about this game. Zach Edey, 40 points, 16 rebounds. That's just outrageous. And the one stat line that I think is going to get lost in all of this is what Mason Gillis did off the bench for Purdue. Now, the bigger stat in all of this was the fact that Purdue was 3 for 15 from 3 and still won a basketball game, which I think is a bigger story in itself. But
Tennessee saw like 7 of 11 from 3 as well.
So Mason Gillis played 26 minutes. He had a couple really good looks from 3, but ultimately finished with no points. He had 8 rebounds and 3 assists. Some of those rebounds were massive defensive boards towards the end of that game that we absolutely needed. If it wasn't for Mason Gillis, as much as Zach Edey dominated this game, Mason Gillis is a big reason why Purdue is also going to the Final Four. So there was so many contributing pieces to this. You've got to shout out Dalton Knecht, 37 points. That dude is the second best player in college basketball. I'll just say it, because Zach Edey's the best. And there's nothing wrong with being second. And ultimately, you're second to Zach Edey and you're second to Purdue because you didn't win the game. But I have immense respect for the Tennessee team and especially Rick Barnes. Those guys are awesome. That team is so good. I have zero respect for those freaking Tennessee fans who can piss off with all their nasty and crappy comments on social media. Guess what? Does this taste good, Tennessee? You guys cannot beat Purdue. It doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, tiddlywinks. It doesn't matter. We beat you again. Suck it. We're going to the Final Four.
Rocky Top that!
All right. That was my emotion. I had to get that off my chest. Again, I don't like cursing, but I had to do it because Tennessee fans are probably the fans I like the least out of any college basketball fans. And like I said, Tennessee's team and Rick Barnes, I love that team. They are a great team, and they are awesome. But I hate their fans. I dislike them significantly, and they can hold this L and take it all the way back to Knoxville and sing that dumb song, which they do 50 times a game. So, sorry, but not sorry. Purdue's going to the Final Four. Nick, let me take a breath and let you take it for a few minutes because I got to get off my soapbox. What do you think?
Robbie, I don't think our friendship's ever been stronger right now. Listening to you just rag on those stupid fans in Knoxville, it just warms my heart. I got a couple numbers for you guys. Dusty, you can answer them out.
Let's hear it.
Robbie catches breath. Okay, 40. Obviously, what Zach Edey scored today. Mm-hmm. Again, that's like how Giannis scored 50 to win the finals a couple years ago. It's kind of like that. 40 points in a big-time Elite Eight game. Like, that's not nothing, 44. How many years it's been since Purdue's last Final Four? So congratulations again, Robbie.
Woo-woo.
And 0. You know what 0 is?
That's how many times Tennessee's made a Final Four.
You bet your ass it is, Robbie. That's all I got. I mean, I agree with you. Rick Barnes is a great man.
Yeah.
Just March is not his friend, is all I got to say.
And I do feel for those players. I especially feel for Dalton Knecht because, man, that dude, he did everything he could to will this team to a win. He shot the ball 31 times. 31 shots he took. He did all he could. He got no help from Zakai Ziegler. Ziegler played one of his, especially, I thought he was pretty good defensively. He did not play very well offensively. They did not get anything from Santiago Vescovi. Ultimately, I think it was the supporting cast that was the reason why Tennessee didn't win the game, and Purdue's supporting cast of Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, Lance Jones had that big 3 with 2 minutes to go that kind of put this one away. That's the difference in the game, in my opinion. Dusty, what else do you take away from the game?
When Lance said that 3, I wanted to text and say Lance just made her dance. I didn't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
I'll take away that, again, Purdue's the dominant team. They proved it. Also with Tennessee, I know I get a weird rap on this show. I don't love Tennessee. I love the SEC. Today, my heart was fully with Purdue. I definitely was rooting for Tennessee Creighton. But I'm grinning, and I hate knocking on people if I'm going to do it. Vescovi's career ending like this is just kick rocks, nerd. Like, just get out here.
He regressed. Like he was so good coming in. Yeah,
I believe he was the leading scorer last year on a team that was like a fourth team in the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
Yep.
And I'm sure the flu played part of it. He was still getting over that. That obviously didn't help, but man.
Did this help Jordan's legacy even more? Was Vescovy looking this bad?
Just one for LeBron and get on the court. The flu's going to be gone. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
Or LeBron.
The other glaring stat: Purdue out-rebounded Tennessee, a very physical Tennessee team, 47-26.
That would be one stat I was going to bring up, so I'm glad you got to it.
Yeah.
That's just out playing, out hustling, and it goes back to the whole thing where my last take is I said the other night or the other day about I loved Edey's quote when he said I didn't come back to school just go to get to the Sweet 16.
Yep.
And is on such a mission.
I want to talk more about Zach Edey as well. So he had a really good quote in the press conference today talking about how he was overlooked, and he thanked Matt Painter and then took a bit of a shot at Rick Barnes in the process. So I want to listen to that next because it's a really good quote from Zach Edey.
I get to pay him back. Like there were so many coaches that looked over me. Like you could name a program, I can name a coach that looked over me. The Tennessee, Rick Barnes is a great coach, but he was in a bunch of our practice, looked over me. Like it's kind of been the story of my life. People have doubted me, people look past me, and can't do that anymore.
You certainly cannot overlook Zach Edey anymore. So he mentions that Rick Barnes was in an IMG at practice, and he said he's a great coach, but he overlooked me. And so did many other great coaches. And I thought it was just funny he singled out Rick Barnes, but also he should have, because almost every other Division I men's college basketball program overlooked this 7'4" lanky kid from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, coming down to play basketball at IMG. And the one team that didn't is the team that is riding him all the way to a Final Four. And it's prophetic. It's there's a lot that goes into it, but Zach Edey, it is incredible that he's incredible. He's amazing. And all the he's just tall idiots can really shut up now, because I will say that was his best game that he ever played, because he showed every part of his game. Drop steps going over his right shoulder, left-handed hooks, finishing around the basket. That block he had at the end of Dalton Connect, that was the game-sealing block that won.
After the two missed free throws,
yes.
That was an block.
It was awesome. He was incredible. He was the best player on the court, and it wasn't even a question. Dalton Connect was awesome, but Zach Edey, the ability for him to continue, because that's the one thing. When he arrived as a freshman, very raw, very lanky, and had a lot to work with in terms of his ability. He has steadily gotten better every single year, and that is so hard to do as a college basketball player, is to get better every single season and improve off of being a National Player of the Year, which makes it even more impressive. Nick, how has he done this? It's incredible where he's come from and where he is now, being 2 wins away from a national championship.
Yeah, I wish I could articulate it better, Robbie. But how you just laid out, he's gotten better every single year. And you're right, he's not just dominant. He is truly I don't know, years from now, if he does win his national championship, he could be on the short list of greatest big man we ever seen in college.
And that's
again,
Nick,
he had 40 points in a Elite Eight game.
I love that you brought that up.
Every single point.
I love that you brought it up, because that was a question I wanted to point out. Who's the best big man in college basketball history? Is it Zach Edey? Is it Anthony Davis? Is it Ralph Sampson?
I think Lou Alcindor probably has the belt.
I would agree, Lou Alcindor, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I believe 3 years, 3 natties,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. But again, Edey, I really have to sit down and think about this. Again, 2 Player of the Years. I know, obviously, kind of like we do with NBA players. He does have some glaring tournament losses, but again, it's not quite the same as it is in NBA. But still, again, I think if they win the championship, again, back-to-back Player of the Years, scoring 40 points. What did he average this year? Do you know, Robbie?
He's averaging 24, I believe.
24. By the way, I believe he led the nation in scoring, which I'm not sure that. I think I heard that right.
Yes, 24.6 points, 12.1 rebounds. He's leading the country in scoring.
The last person to do that and go to the Final Four, anyone know?
Oscar Robertson.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, Robbie, I don't think I can say any better than that. Edey's in the conversation. Potentially, he's got to win it, I think.
Yeah.
On the short list of greatest college big man we've seen.
I would say
Extraordinary.
Or I think a lot of people, if you did a top, let's say top 5, I mean, I think Hakeem's on there. And that's a little biased, obviously, but his stats were amazing. But he didn't win a title. So I think Edey, to me, is probably a top 5 big man of all time.
We haven't mentioned Bill Russell yet either. I just want to throw that name in.
Bill Russell, I'd throw Wilt Chamberlain in there too with what he did at Kansas as well. So, yeah.
And then even Joakim Noah or Al Horford, one of those two guys you could put in there.
Yeah.
Kevin Pittsnoggle.
Great name. I want to end it on this, and we'll move on to the next game. If you see the picture on social media, you will see me weeping after we won. And I will say the job's not done. We've got 2 more wins to win a national championship. The Final Four, this is awesome. First Final Four since 1980, as Jack Carney mentioned. But this run to a Final Four, this is for Glenn Robinson. This is for John Wooden, Joe Barry Carroll, Biggie Swanigan, God rest his soul, Billy Keller, Dave Schellhaus, Piggy Lambert, Stretch Murphy, Rick Mount, Terry Dishinger, Jawan Johnson, Etuan Moore, Carson Edwards, Jaden Ivey, Chris Kramer, Carl McNulty, Konzo Martin, Steve Scheffler, Paul Hoffman, Bob Ford, Jim Rowinski, Gene Cady, my boy Robbie Hummel, and most especially that win was for Matt Painter, because all the idiots out there that wanted him to be fired and got rid of this program, he shut y'all up. Because this guy is one of the best coaches in college basketball, and now he has a Final Four on his resume, and he's about to go find a way to get a national championship on his resume as well. So proud to be a Boilermaker. I am so excited to take my wife and be there in Phoenix for the Final Four. That NC State game is going to be awesome. Before we jump into the NC State game, one more speak pipe message. We've heard from Zach Hazelhorst before. We got to hear from him one more time as he has one more message to pass along to everyone.
You also forgot Chris Hartley, but go ahead.
Hey, fellas.
And DJ Bird. My guy.
Overjoyed with the Purdue win. This is incredible. One thing that I hope you guys would talk about is, it was a Zach Edey incredible game, incredible career carrying them, but I can't help but think about this is about Matt Painter. So many people complain about the way that coaches run their programs around the country. There's such a temptation to do it the wrong way. So many people get away with doing it the wrong way. They get rewarded for it. And here's Matt Painter doing things the right way, refusing to compromise. The whole country seems to listen to him when he gives these press conference answers sometimes where he's just spitting wisdom. I don't know. I think that there is a great appetite for coaches like Matt Painter around the country, and he's finally getting his recognition for just running an incredible program. So I'm just really thrilled. It was so touching to see Edey after the game give him a hug and say that was all for him. So maybe you could talk about that if you haven't yet.
Zach, appreciate the speak pipe message again. Speakpipe.com/D1 and Done Pod, and couldn't agree more. Matt Painter deserves this more than anyone, and he's done a phenomenal job with this team. He deserves this. I think I don't know if you guys saw at the end of the game. I think he felt a little awkward at the end getting that big hug from Zach Edey because he's not one for attention. He's not one to be in the limelight, but I know there's definitely a part of him that is just enjoying the fact that he's taking his team to a Final Four, and he brought this team there. He is the reason why they're at this point.
I do think we should mention too one last thing. It's kind of we always talk about blueprints, like how to find the blueprints for success in different sports. It's a new blueprint to lose to a 16 seed. Get embarrassed in the tournament because this happened twice now.
Could be.
Teams lost at least gotten to the Final Four. This is actually crazy.
It could be it. That's a great call. One last thing on Purdue. I know we're going long on Purdue, but this is something that doesn't happen very often. I don't know if you guys saw the video of when Matt Painter was being interviewed by the Westwood One radio team after the game, and Robbie Hummel was the color analyst on that broadcast. And as they were interviewing Matt Painter, he started crying and tearing up. And
glad you not see that.
Yeah.
Act like you've been there before. Come on.
and that got me a little more emotional too, because there's arguably no better embodiment of Purdue basketball than Robby Hummel, with everything he's endured and just his rise in the broadcasting ranks and how much he's grown. I mean, there's not much of a better person that you will find than Robby Hummel, and he got to enjoy this just as much as the team, and he deserved it as well. It's a shame, again, forever, that 2010 team did not get an opportunity, and the 2011 team did not get an opportunity to make a run and go to a Final Four. But 13 years, 12 years later, they finally did it. And this one's for all those people I mentioned, those long-suffering Purdue fans. You guys know who you are. But again, the job's not done. They've got 2 more games to win, and the first game they're going to face in Phoenix, the NC State Wolfpack. How about DJ Burns in this game against Duke? 29 points. What were you going to say, Dusty?
Can I say one more thing about Purdue? And
sure,
then
go for it.
It was amazing. Cutting down the net, staying on the floor was an amazing. All right, Penn State, let's go.
And the best part about that was after Zach Edey cut down the net while he didn't use the ladder, he brought that piece of the net over to Gene Cady to give it to him.
Oh, ow! I did not see that.
Yeah.
Okay, my boy.
I mean, it just, again, tears. I was crying when I saw that. All right, let's switch the gears again to NC State. A 76-64 win over Duke. DJ Burns was awesome. And I think, obviously, the 29 points, he was fantastic. It's the way that he was able to just roughhouse with Kyle Filipowski. How about Flip? 11 points, 9 rebounds, and fouling out. Like, DJ Burns brought it to him. Nick, what did you think watching that NC State game?
Just like, I guess, we want to say, like, forewarning, however you want to put it. I was driving to the airport for most of this game, picking up my dear father. So I was listening to the radio call, which, by the way, PJ Carlissimo's the color guy on the radio. That was cracking me up. But,
wow.
Yeah. So everything I hear, I didn't get to see much of it, but I listened to the whole thing, so I just want to get that out of the way. But yeah, Robbie, DJ Burns is the story. Maybe the tournament. I mean, shot Purdue and everything.
No,
but
I
DJ
agree.
Burns, our guy.
Yeah.
And Dusty, I don't like your little, earlier in the show, your doubter boy DJ Burns against Edey. I know Edey, we're giving flowers. This is such a hilarious matchup. Or not hilarious, but just awesome. And like I said, 29 points. DJ Horn was good in this game, too.
He had a great game, yeah.
And as someone, as a Kentucky fan, again, I'll mention him again, who lost his first round, watching Duke and Tennessee lose today, it was a nice day. So thank you to Zach Edey and our guy, DJ Burns.
I mean,
and again, shout out to NC State, too. Same thing with the Marquette game. Like, they're winning late, and they didn't blow it. They made their free throws. Back-to-back games.
Because it looked like Duke was going to take over at the end of the first half.
It did, yeah.
After the second half, I thought I saw. I don't have stats in front of me.
So NC State outscored Duke in the second half, 55-37.
And I think I saw they were 16 of 21 from the field to start the second half.
Really?
It was like a Villanova Georgetown type stat.
Oh my gosh!
What was that? The 86 championship? No, that's Louisville. 84.
85.
85. Thank you. In between, but yeah, just could not miss. The thing I love about Burns, he plays so freaking patient.
Yeah, so composed.
Yes, but I stand by my words. I mean, I think Edey would have his number if that is the matchup that they would go with.
That's the bigger question. I think is I don't know if Edey's going to guard DJ Burns. It may be. It may be. Yeah, it could be. Trey Kaufman-Wren and Zach Edey could kind of take turns because remember, you got to worry about Mohamed Diarra. You got to box that dude out. He gets so many rebounds. But I mean, DJ Burns was great. The bigger story was DJ Horn has been great for NC State all year, but he finally showed up in this game. He had 20 big points. Without him, NC State doesn't win this game. Like he was very important. And also, we got to give a shout out to the Indy connection, Jaden Taylor. That's a Perry Meridian kid that's going to a Final Four. So that's also awesome. Transferred from Butler. But NC State's is going to be the story here. An 11 seed making it to the Final Four. I didn't look it up, but I believe NC State is the 6th 11 seed to make it to the Final Four. And I can't remember how many 11 seeds lost in the Elite Eight, but it's
all
not. It's not.
Elite Eight, sorry.
Okay. But the bigger story possibly here is the fact that just Duke We said it. We were never really impressed with them at all in the tournament, and now they finally got it against a team that can bully Kyle Filipowski inside. Tyrese Proctor was 0 for 9 from the field, and ultimately, NC State kind of bullied them and won this game inside.
Two more things I want to add. Shout out Michael O'Connell, too, the guard for NC State.
He hit that big three towards the end there. That was huge.
Right. Listen, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 turnover.
Oh, my gosh.
He was unreal in that game.
He had 11 rebounds. He's only he's 6'2".
Shout out our guy O'Connell.
Wow.
Yeah, you mentioned Proctor. Him, Roach, and Filipowski, quick math right here, combined 8 of 30 from the field, I believe, in this game. So, yeah, that was kind of story. NC State, like Dustin said, could not miss the second half, and Duke missed a lot.
Jared McCain was great. He had 32 points, 5-11 from 3. He did all he could. But I think this also kind of showed that Duke was a very one-dimensional team. It was if Filipowski's not going off, then okay, the guards are going to be okay. Jared McCain's very good, but they got no other guys they can turn to on the bench to kind of help them out. And once Filipowski went out, it just went. It was a slippery slope. It went downhill quickly for them. And that just goes to show you just how good this NC State team is with that 7-man rotation. They trust the guys that are on the floor. Morcell's their defensive stopper. He played great. You mentioned O'Connell. It was impressive watching NC State play. They played a great game. They deserve to be in the Final Four.
Yeah, and we should mention with Filipowski, for people who don't remember, he got very injured in the middle of the season, so he was probably playing with a limp. He got attacked by those demon deacons, so...
They are.
You
said demons. They are demon deacons. Yes, that's how it works.
Good point. Which, by the way, shout out my friend Grant Bullard, who points out, it makes sense that the Devils won on Good Friday and then lost on Easter.
Yep. Prophecy,
so how about that?
Prophecy wins again, kids. What a surprise. So very excited for that NC State-Purdue matchup. And I will say it when we do our big Final Four pod later in the week. I expect Purdue to win. I want them to win. I am so excited they're there. If this is, it's going to feel weird, but this is honestly, it's a win-win. I want Purdue to win. Yes. If Purdue loses, though, it's also going to be the fact that, man, we're going to see NC State and DJ Burns in the national championship game. Like, how cool is that going to be? Like, that's awesome. As a college basketball fan, put aside my Purdue fandom, as a college basketball fan, that is awesome that there's a potential we could see an 11 seed play for a national championship, because that means anyone can do it. Anyone can win it if you just get hot and get on a run. I think
that's what we talk about when the conference tournament starts.
We did.
Right?
Now, I think it's going to end. I think Purdue's going to win, but if NC State does happen to pull a shocker again, it is an awesome story, and it is great for college basketball.
Have we mentioned on this pod this year that NC State lost to Louisville?
I don't know.
Which is insane to think about.
I was going to say, let's cut that right now. Let's hold that back for if they win the national title.
Yeah, that's fair.
But, it's a perfect example. NC State, as of 4 weeks ago, was not in the NCAA tournament.
Crazy.
And now they're in
the Final Four.
Whenever I do my bubble updates, they never once came up.
No, they were never.
Conversation.
No. Yeah, amazing. So that is the right side of the bracket. The left side of the bracket, we're going to start with the Crimson Tide of Alabama. How about Nate Oates and Roll Tide in their first ever Final Four? My gosh, that was an awesome game against Clemson as the Tide win it on Saturday, 89-82. A lot of contributors to the cause for Alabama. Jaron Stevenson may have been the biggest one. 19 points off the bench, 5 of 8 from 3. Mark Sears went nuclear in the second half, 7 of 8 from 3. That dude was wild at the end. I think the bigger story is the fact that Alabama was kind of able to get some big buckets in the paint. Nick Pringle had like 4 or 5 and ones, it felt like. And it seemed like Alabama was just, every time Clemson kind of made a run, it was Alabama kind of just pushing them back and keeping them at bay. And Mark Sears hit a couple big threes. But, man, all the credit in the world to Bama. That was an awesome game, and they played great. Dusty, I'll start with you being the Bama lover that you are. What did you think about the Crimson Tide and their win over Clemson?
I picked Clemson the other night.
I know you did. I like starting with you on talking Alabama.
I know, I appreciate that. I picked Clemson. I'm gut feeling. I mentioned kind of a vulnerable moment the other night. My uncle passed away. He was a diehard Alabama guy. Lived in Birmingham his entire life. And we actually joked this weekend how we should do his funeral at the Applebee's in the city in Alabama he lives in because he spent so much money there. So watching it with my cousin, who is his son, we were going crazy last night. And in terms of basketball talk with Bama, so it was a very, very cool experience. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But I just love the fact that Nate Oates does not go away from his strategy. And I think we've talked about this before, but to him, it's like, okay, we've missed 7 threes in a row.
Keep shooting.
6 more. Yeah. 4 of the next 6 are going to go and just keep shooting. And the confidence that he delivers to his players just is mind-numbing. I mean, that's how you lead people, and that's how you make. I mean, that's what Hurley's doing at UConn, right? You just make them feel so good, confident on themselves, and like if you go play your game, you're going to beat everyone. And the fact that I just saw a tweet today that I think it was 11 years ago, he was coaching high school basketball, and he was selling. I thought it said Kool-Aid, Red Hot Cheese Puffs, and something else to raise money for his high school team just to get like shoes and jerseys.
Wow.
As in the freaking Final Four for a team that's never been there. That is
incredible.
Unreal. And I do think, I started to flirt this earlier, I don't think NC State can beat UConn. Love NC State, I'm not trying to hate on them. Bama and Purdue, I think the 2 teams that can beat UConn. If Alabama can get hot, that's what obviously it's going to take.
Right.
That'll be the big thing. And I'm sure we'll break that down later this week. And then I do think the ultimate matchup would be UConn-Purdue National Championship would be a showdown that we haven't seen since, I don't even know the game. I'll have to think about it. But maybe Villanova.
Maybe Florida, Ohio State?
Ohio State, yeah, probably.
Noah and Odin?
Yeah, that's a good comparison. So I'm so happy for Alabama, so happy for their fans. We have a friend of ours named Alex.
Yeah, long starving fan base.
Oh yeah. Big shout out to the up and coming university that is Alabama. Their fans have never experienced any joy ever in their life. It's about time they got something great.
Remember,
Saban retires and they go to the Final Four. What the hell?
Remember the first ladies bracket when they're doing it and they chose it was Michigan State over Bama, and I think it was Haley that said, well, doesn't Alabama win everything? And then State instead.
There you go. Yes. It's funny that you mentioned. It's funny that you mentioned the first ladies of the pod. We forgot to shout out my wife Kelly. She said it on the pod. We talked about, there's no way NC State can keep going. They win 5 games, five wins in 5 games. And she's like, they're going to keep it going. And she said it. She said it on the pod 2 weeks ago. And sure enough, NC State in the Final Four. But Nick, we're a Brad Brownell pod. So we're disappointed to see Clemson not make the Final Four. But that was a Clemson team that they took some haymakers from Bama and they kept fighting. I was immensely impressed with all the chef's hats for Ian Shefflin. He was great. He played such a great game. Joe Girard hit some big shots down the stretch. Chase Hunter had a tough game from the perimeter. I think ultimately that's what's going to hurt him the most. PJ Hall played really well, I thought, too, outside of his foul trouble. I mean, Clemson played a very good game. Alabama won that game, but again, Clemson earned a lot of respect from a lot of people after that game, I think.
For sure. I'm sure of all the teams in Elite Eight, they're probably a team everyone who watched the league. It probably includes NC State with Clemson. You mentioned PJ Hall getting foul trouble, changed the whole game. And they jumped on them 28-15 this game.
They did, yeah.
It felt like early on, Clemson, I thought was going to boat race them. I was like, well, here we go. We're going to get another blowout today. And then Bama responded again. Stevenson, is it Jaron Stevenson?
Yeah, Jaron Stevenson. Gosh, he was awesome.
He scored 19 points last night. In his past 5 games, I just did a quick math for everyone here, 20 total points.
Wow.
And had not scored more than 7 in the game. So he truly just showed up at the right time. And again, Sears was great. But I think the MVP of Bama last night was Nick Pringle. He was
a monster.
Everywhere on the board.
Yeah.
Shout out to original Pringles, by the way. It's the best Pringles. That's my conversation for another day. But yeah, Nick Pringle's everywhere again. They have Shefflin and Hall down there, and he was just great. And that's kind of what the story of March is, right? You need those secondary guys to step up in those critical moments. And part of Bama's run, too, is also part of March, you got to survive your bad games, right? Like Grand Canyon, Bama was trying to lose the basketball game at some points, but you survive, and here they are. And Dusty mentioned they can beat UConn. Bama's interesting too, and the way they play, they can probably beat UConn. They could also probably lose by 67 points.
Could.
If their threes are not hitting, it could get ugly. So it's a fun matchup, if nothing else.
Yeah, they probably play Charleston tomorrow again and lose by 20. So they just
they're the most volatile team in the country, and that's what makes them so dangerous too. Yeah. So speaking of blowouts, what on earth happened to Illinois? My gosh, 30. I don't think I've ever seen a 30-0 run in a basketball game.
Bobby, I spent like 25 minutes today trying to find another 30, because I'm sure it's happened.
Sure.
In regulation, another 30-0 run in the NCAA tournament, and I couldn't find anything.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, please just give me one. Like, just I can say in 1945 NYU boat race Yale 30-0 at some point. I could not find it.
Hey Dusty, you know who got boat raced in 1945? The Nazis.
That was good.
Yep. Suck on that, Nazis.
We are anti-Nazi in this pod, by the way.
100%. Yes. UConn.
Can I just say?
So UConn. Real quick.
Hey,
UConn won by 25. UConn won by 25. They were 3 for 17 from 3.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. What you just said, and this is my dad and I were talking about this last night. Take up, and I know this is like apples to oranges in a sense. Take out this 30-0 run, they lose by 5, right? So it's amazing. Actually played pretty well outside of that crazy.
Again, yeah, it felt like Illinois was just in like an AAU moment where they were like, we're just going to chuck up a bunch of threes. We're going to try to drive right at Donovan Clingan, which was the dumbest game plan of all time. Brad
and they
Underwood.
didn't stop.
They kept doing it.
Even it was not working. They're like, we're still going to do this.
What's the definition of insanity? Continuing to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It wasn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. It was not going to happen. I understood what they were trying to do, but when you realize it's not going to work, you need to pivot to something else. And
I did.
Go ahead, for Illinois. I did find some comic relief out of it. Did you hear him after the game where he went on a rant about the portal?
What?
He was frustrated the day before he said, I'm trying to prepare for an Elite Eight game, and I have 2 of my guys have to scout the portal. I had to have a recruiting call the day of the game, and basically just admitted he couldn't focus on the game.
That was Brad Underwood that said that?
Yes, yeah. I'm sure you can find it. He was getting interviewed in a hallway, so I think it was in.
Hey, Brad, your whole team is full of portal guys, basically.
He did say that. He said we do as good as anyone else, but I think it was more of a, I'm going to get my voice out there and say that this is dumb. We need to push back when the portal opens. But
he's right, by the way.
He's not wrong about that.
No, he's not wrong. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I found it funny that's like, just address you got your ass kicked, right? Let's just go fat.
Just take it and move on.
Of NCAA tournament history, and let's move on.
I agree.
Real quick,
go for it, Nick.
So we mentioned a 30-0 run. I just want to say this: if a football team went on a 30-0 run, that's insane, right? The fact that a basketball team did it is even more insane. Yeah, isn't also too? I believe it took us to the 40-minute mark to mention UConn on this pod, which is I think also kind of speaks that they're almost just like a formality so far at this point.
Right?
They are just taking names. I mean, you mentioned they didn't shoot the ball that well, and they played their C- game the first half.
They did,
and they're still just up 5 points.
Yeah.
So again, it's theirs to lose. There's really no other way of putting it right now.
That's now 10 straight tourney wins by 13 or more points for them. They are just unstoppable right now with how they are playing. They're massively impressive. And as you mentioned, Nick, I wasn't all that impressed with how they played overall, especially that first half. I was just more shocked at how disgusting Illinois played. Because when they got it to 23-23, and it was like, okay, they're playing the booty ball with Marcus Damask. This is starting to work. That's how you beat UConn is you have to take advantage of your size if you have that advantage, because they have, if you can pull Donovan Clingan out, which that's what they did with Coleman Hawkins, then your second tallest guy can go on Alex Caravan. They list him at 6'8". There's no way that dude is 6'8" tall. He's probably closer to 6'5". Like that, if you can get that matchup, that's what you got to do. And for the life of me, I will never understand basketball coaches that go away from something that continues to work consistently. Like, it's almost as if in their mind it's like, well, we got to have some variety, so we got to try and do some different things. Do the same thing if it continues to work. Why did you go away from it? And that's ultimately, if Illinois would have stuck with Marcus Demas basically playing one-on-one, I think it would have worked. But they went away from it. They started chucking up threes, and for the life of me, I don't know why Coleman Hawkins shot 7 threes, but here we are. And Terrence Shannon played his worst game of the season, I think. Ultimately,
oh my God, was he?
Yeah, he was awful. I mean,
Yeah.
Hey, can Illinois overturn this result with a federal judge? You think they can? Is that doable?
I'll investigate Robby. I'll get back to you on that one.
Thank you. R&D will get on that for me.
Credit to you. You were probably right about Illinois. I was talking about Illinois Final Four, and you kept saying they'll eventually have that moment, and boy,
finally
did they have that moment.
It took a while, but they finally got it. So we get a UConn, Alabama Final Four game, and but before we wrap things up, Dusty, does Alabama have a chance?
Oh, absolutely, they do. And I say that every time UConn plays. But they do. A team that can shoot the three like that, and I would still say, if UConn and Illinois played again, I don't think it's a 25-point game. Obviously, they're not going to go on a 30-0 run once again.
Yeah.
I don't think, I will say this, I don't think Alabama can go off to any type of slow start.
Right.
They are the team that when you do get pressed, like they did against Clemson, I don't worry about them because they can catch fire. Again, I've said this so many times. They remind me of Kentucky so much, which is just ironic, really. I won't give my pick until we do our Final Four preview show.
Yeah.
But yes, I would not by any means say ever in a single elimination tournament that team doesn't have a chance. But I mean, UConn, I'm sure, is and will be favored. I would guess.
You want the lines right now? I'll tell you. They're out.
Can I guess it? Because I
Sure.
was stunned by the spread. I'm going to guess UConn. Because I would put it about 3.5. I'm going to guess they have their 8.
I'm going to say minus 11.5.
Nick nailed it. It's 11.5.
Damn, gambling's so easy,
isn't it? Right? Yeah. I mean, it's I think the books are finally starting to say this team keeps winning by more than 13. Why do we keep giving these lines in the single digits? I think that's ultimately why. I think Alabama has the best chance to do it, but until UConn proves otherwise, I don't know why. Like, we keep saying no to that. You guys want to guess the Purdue line?
Purdue I'll say Purdue 7.5.
Nick?
I'll do 8.5.
9.5.
Jeez,
That's pretty high. 9.5.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's probably going to come down. But also, I think Purdue matches up pretty well with NC State. They've got a guy that they can throw at DJ Burns. That's not going to be a problem. I mean, this is probably going to be one of the few times where Zach Edey can body up someone and doesn't have to worry about getting blown by, because DJ Burns just not a speedster by any means. But I am so excited for that matchup. That's going to be such a great matchup if we get it. If DJ Burns and Zach Edey guard each other, that will be awesome.
Robby, could you do a Twitter poll? Do you think DJ Burns is a speedster? And see what the people think.
69% yes.
Yeah, yes.
Tip times also released. Purdue's going to play the 6:09 p.m. tip time game, and Alabama UConn will be 8:49 p.m. So the Boilermakers will get the early game. We'll have the Huskies late night from State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Those games are going to be on TBS, by the way. Those are Eastern time tip-offs. So if you are in the Central time zone, which I've referred to as the God's time zone, it'll be 5:09 and 7:49 if you are in the Central time zone. So the Final Four is all set, and we are ready to go. I'm going to start packing my bags and getting ready to go out. So excited. Any last news and notes, thoughts from getting to the Final Four from either of you? Nick, I'll start with you.
just again, so happy for you, Robbie, and all my other Purdue fans out there. It's been a long time coming. A lot of how do I put this? Some downfalls along the way, some tough moments, some tough pills as well. So, congrats, buddy. You should have a lot of fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Shout out to Matthews, by the way.
Dusty.
Again, as I always say, I love this tournament. I love it's the Final Four. It's almost more fun at times when your team does just get their ass kicked, so you can just have fun with the rest of it. So
Where are you at now, Crab?
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
But my next move is to get off this call, get ready for this week's podcast, and then go look up the local Hooters in Phoenix for you to go pregame after the game.
Oh, I'm sure Kelly will love it. She's very excited about going to the local Hooters for sure.
Yeah, she is.
But anyway, we will have a pod previewing the Final Four later this week. We haven't determined when we're going to do that just yet, but it will be kind of when we before we get out of here. So stay tuned for where we come out, and when we release that, we'll let you know when that will be out on wherever you find your podcast. But that'll do it for this episode of the D1 and Done pod. Again, we appreciate all of you tuning in and listening. We appreciate Zach and Chip for sending in their speak pipes. Always interact with us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever that may be. All of our pods are also on YouTube. We will be back later this week for our Final Four preview show. Until then, for Nick Mills, for Dusty Mills, I am Robbie Donahoe. Thank you for listening to this episode of the D1 and Done pod. Thank you, Lord, for answering my prayers. And you know what? Let's just go win the freaking thing. We got 2 more to go.
Happy Easter, everyone.
And happy Easter, yeah.
Happy Easter indeed, everyone. Boiler up. We'll see you next time.